Veyra's most feared predator swears loyalty after human salves. It from agonizing, neural spike. The emergency sirens wailed, bouncing off the battered hull as Marcus Lane gripped the flight yoke, sweat beading on his brow. Amber hazard lights strobed across the dashboard, painting his trembling hands in fleeting bursts of gold. The hull groaned with every shuddering second, threatening to buckle beneath forces it was never designed to endure. Marcus's jaw clenched. He slammed a fist against the console. "Hold together, just a little longer," he pleaded, voice hoarse, as he punched commands into the flickering touchscreen. The nav display flickered, lines of alien script, Veyran interference, twisting over his readouts. Marcus rerouted power from navigation to the inertial dampeners, watching the engine's whine rise in pitch. The shuttle lurched, metal shrieking in protest. Come on, don't die on me now." He stared through the cracked viewport. A colossal mesa floated before him, drifting on unseen currents above the forest canopy. Its crystalline ridges glinted, catching the lavender sunlight and splintering it into 1,000 prismatic shards. Marcus's breath caught. This was it, the anomaly he'd been sent to chart. He didn't have time to marvel. The mesa loomed closer, far too close. He jerked the controls, yanking hard right. "Hang on!" The shuttle's nose veered, but not fast enough. A guttural metallic screech filled the cabin as the starboard wing raked against the mesa's jagged edge. The world spun, the horizon flipping as alarms blared. The survey shuttle spun out of control, spiraling down through the clouds and plummeting into the indigo forest below. The impact slammed Marcus forward, his head snapping against the harness, the straps biting deep into his chest. Pain shot through his skull, and the world blurred. Shattered glass tinkled to the deck. The shuttle shuddered and groaned, then stilled, smoke rising from the ruined consoles. Marcus gasped for air. Blood dripped from his eyebrow, stinging his eye as he forced his trembling fingers to undo the harness. His legs threatened to buckle when he stood. Debris littered the cramped cockpit. The transmitter lay in pieces across the floor, sparking feebly. But the emergency beacon, Marcus's only hope of rescue, winked weakly from the supply locker, its power cell cracked. He surveyed the chaos, mind racing. He'd need a replacement cell. If he could scavenge one, maybe, just maybe, he'd get out alive. He grabbed his survival kit, rations, medkit, energy torch, slung the satchel over his shoulder, and forced open the buckled hatch. Outside, Veyra unfurled before him in eerie splendor. He blinked, vision swimming. Glowing blue flora carpeted the forest floor, every leaf shimmering with bioluminescence. Islands of rock floated overhead, drifting lazily in a lavender sky streaked with waterfalls that cascaded into mist and vanished. The air smelled electric, alive. A guttural howl sliced through the woods, a sound both raw and wounded echoing off the trees. Marcus froze, heart pounding. His instincts screamed at him to run, to vanish into the undergrowth. But curiosity, and something deeper, tugged harder. He gripped the energy torch tighter and pushed through the phosphorescent ferns, careful to keep his footsteps light. The brush thinned into a clearing. There, half hidden in shadow, sprawled a monstrous feline predator, shuttle-sized, its mottled green-black hide bristling, muscles rippling under slick fur. Its claws gouged deep trenches in the violet earth as it thrashed, a snarl rumbling in its throat. Marcus's breath caught. A barbed device protruded from its shoulder, pulsing with an ugly orange light. Not a wound from another animal. Marcus crept closer, lifting his scanner. The readings were unmistakable. Neural disruptors, a torture mechanism, humming at frequencies meant to inflict agony. Someone had put this here. "That's not a natural injury," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. He knelt just outside the beast's reach, watching its crimson eyes. Intelligence flickered behind their pain, something desperate, pleading. He raised his palms. "Easy. I'm not here to hurt you," he said, voice low and steady. The cat beast snarled, baring fangs longer than his forearm, but didn't attack. Marcus inched closer, heart hammering, breath catching in his throat. The wound oozed thick blue ichor around the device, staining the ground. With careful movements, he assembled a tranquilizer from his kit, loading the dart with enough sedative to drop a creature twice its size. "It's all right," he whispered, trying to keep his voice soothing. "You're going to be okay, I promise." The feline's eyes narrowed, but it stayed. Marcus slid the dart into the flesh above the wound. The beast shuddered, muscles bunching, but did not lash out. As the sedative took hold, the predator's breath slowed. Marcus worked fast, snapping open his medkit. He examined the barbed device. Its prongs were sunk deep, wires feeding into exposed nerves. "Sorry, big guy," he murmured, and began the extraction. The beast's body trembled, claws raking the earth, but it stayed down. Marcus pried the barbs free, and the device popped out with a gush of blue blood. He sealed the wound with his cauterizer, the hiss of burning flesh filling the clearing. The beast's massive body shuddered, then slumped, still breathing. Marcus fell back, adrenaline crashing through his veins. If the creature survived and decided he was a threat, he would be utterly defenseless. But the blue ichor slowed, the wound already knitting. Veyran predators were infamous for rapid healing. Night crept in, the forest glowing with ghostly light. Marcus couldn't bring himself to leave. He set up a small camp a safe distance away, where he could watch the feline. He examined the device, its orange glow fading to embers. Whoever had created this, it wasn't native to Veyra. He wrapped it carefully and kept it close. Exhaustion finally claimed him. He curled up, blaster at his side, sleep chasing away the day's terror. At dawn, warmth pressed against his side, heavy and real. Marcus's eyes fluttered open. Two massive red eyes met his, unblinking and curious. The feline, awake, rumbled softly, breath fanning his face, and nudged his hand with its enormous snout. Marcus stared, awestruck, as the beast regarded him not as prey, but as something entirely new, an ally perhaps, or a friend. Astra, a renowned Saren sentinel, moved with silent grace through the bioluminescent canopy, her blue skin blending with the shadows. She seemed to glide above the mossy ground, every muscle fluid beneath her golden armor. The gentle swish of her white hair trailed behind, faintly illuminated by the glowing flora. Her ornate chest plate caught stray sparks of emerald and sapphire as she wove between towering trunks, orange cape fluttering at her back. She paused, crouching low, sharp gaze fixed on a deep boot print pressed into the luminescent soil. "Terrans," she sighed, lips curling in faint amusement. Always so noisy. The human scent lingered in the air, clashing with Veyra's natural musk. She traced the trail further, noting snapped stems, muddy prints, a scrap of synthetic fiber snagged on a branch, clues a Saren would never leave. A faint buzz crackled in her earpiece. "Status, Sentinel Astra," came Commander Thal's voice, stern and clipped as ever. "Single intruder, male, tracking now. The Night Stalker may be involved." Astra replied, voice low. She hesitated, mind briefly flickering to her mother, matriarch Lyra, her shadow as heavy as Veyra's twilight. Lyra's expectations had driven Astra's brother far from the city and deeper into the wilds. Astra had stayed, honing her skill, never faltering, always striving to be what her mother demanded. She pressed on, senses alert, until the forest opened into a wide clearing veiled in blue mist. There, Astra froze, every instinct tensing. The human, Marcus, she guessed from the boot size and gait, stood beside the largest night stalker she'd ever seen. The predator's black-green hide rippled with silent power as it nuzzled Marcus, tail curled in a protective arc. The sight defied every lesson drilled into her since childhood. Night stalkers were living storms, untamable, relentless, never gentle. The beast's massive head swung toward her. Its crimson eyes narrowed, a low growl vibrating in its throat. Astra remained motionless, studying the tableau, her weapon sliding silently into her palm. Marcus stepped forward, palms raised, his voice steady but earnest. "Wait, I'm not a threat. My name is Marcus Lane. I'm an exobiologist. I mean you no harm." Astra dropped from the branches, boots landing with feline precision, staff raised, golden armor catching the dawn's faint glow. "Step away from the Night Stalker," she commanded, tone ironclad. Her gaze flicked from Marcus to the beast and back, searching for deception. Marcus kept his hands high. "Listen, I found him. He was injured. Someone embedded a device in his shoulder. It was killing him." He reached carefully into his satchel, producing a twisted, deactivated spike, its barbs slick with dried blue ichor. Astra's breath caught. She recognized the etchings on the metal, sarin craftsmanship, but perverted, warped by forbidden science. Her eyes narrowed. "You shouldn't have touched that," she said, uncertainty threading her voice. Marcus's jaw set stubbornly. "If I hadn't, he would have died. I couldn't just watch him suffer." The Night Stalker, as if understanding, moved between Marcus and Astra, tail swishing protectively. It lowered its head, eyes locked on Astra, daring her to come closer. The gesture shattered Astra's certainty. She faltered, lowering her staff a fraction. "They never do that," she murmured, voice barely audible. "Never." Duty warred with confusion. Regulations demanded she detain the human and reclaim the beast, but nothing about this encounter matched protocol or instinct. She drew a steadying breath, forcing herself into command mode. "You will come with me to the city. There, your fate and the Night Stalkers will be decided." Marcus straightened, defiance glinting in his eyes. "He comes as my equal. He's not a specimen. He's Shade." The name hung between them. Astra bristled at his boldness, but something in his conviction stayed her tongue. "Very well," she said, voice tight, "but you both follow my lead. No exceptions." She turned and led them deeper into the glowing woods, staff at the ready, eyes flicking back to Marcus and the massive feline. Marcus fell in beside her, curiosity shining through his exhaustion. He couldn't keep quiet for long. "You're Saren, right? I've read about your bioengineering, your cities. Is it true you can communicate with the flora? How did your people domesticate the Night Stalkers?" Astra shot him a sidelong look. "We did not domesticate them. We respect their place in the cycle." She kept her answers curt, unwilling to betray more than necessary. Shade padded ahead, enormous paws making hardly a sound. Marcus studied the beast's movements, fascinated. "He keeps coming back to check on us. That's not typical predator behavior." Astra considered this, lips pursed. "No, it is not." As dusk slipped into day, the trio reached a river unlike any Marcus had seen. Its surface shimmered, flowing in a gravity-defying arc above the ground, suspended like a glass ribbon. Astra paused at the bank, pressing her palm to a luminous stone. She began a low chant, words lilting and ancient. Red light flared in her eyes as water shaped itself into a twisting bridge. Marcus stared, awe plain on his face. "Is it stable enough for him?" He gestured to Shade. Astra's lips quirked in a rare smile. "Night Stalkers are children of Veyra. The world knows them." She crossed first, her steps assured. Shade followed, claws clicking softly on the liquid bridge, and Marcus brought up the rear, heart pounding with wonder and fear. Midway across, the sky shattered with shrieks. A flock of razor-winged shrikes, sleek predatory birds with metallic feathers and needle beaks, dove from the canopy, talons extended. Astra reacted instantly, her staff spinning in a blur, projecting a translucent barrier overhead. "Run!" she barked, thrusting her staff upward as a shrike slammed into the shield with a screech. Marcus darted, boots slipping on the slick surface. One of the shrikes broke past Astra's guard, wings slashing toward him. Shade erupted into motion, intercepting the predator in a blur of muscle and fury. Jaws snapped. The shrike's body crumpled, lifeless, and Shade dropped the corpse at Marcus's feet, standing between him and the rest of the flock. Astra stared, shaken. "They never protect others," she whispered, disbelief etched into every syllable. The remaining shrikes circled once, then scattered into the haze. The bridge stilled, and Astra ushered Marcus and Shade to the far bank. They pressed on in silence, the rhythm of their footsteps a tentative truce. By nightfall, they found shelter in a hollow beneath a fallen giant tree, its roots arching overhead. Astra built a small fire with practiced hands, arranging her armor within arm's reach. Marcus finally removed his helmet, inhaling the cool, fragrant air of Veyra for the first time. He sank beside the flames, glancing at Astra across the dancing light. She watched him, eyes unreadable, her posture wary but not hostile. After a long silence, she spoke. "Why did you risk yourself for the Night Stalker? You had no obligation." Marcus met her gaze, voice steady. "It was suffering. I had to help. Isn't that what you'd want for your own people?" Astra's eyes glowed brighter, emotion flickering. "Compassion for a Night Stalker is like pity for a storm. It is not our place to intervene." Yet doubt crept into her words. Marcus studied her, seeing the struggle behind her mask. Maybe the world changes when someone tries. She looked away, falling silent, but Marcus sensed the foundation of her certainty shifting. Shade curled around the camp, head on its paws, eyes watchful and oddly gentle. As Marcus settled against his pack, the fire casting orange light over Astra's face, he watched her study Shade, the massive beast who, hours ago, would have torn him limb from limb. Now, it slept between them like a living bridge. For the first time, Marcus wondered if the lines between them, human and Sarin, sentinel and scientist, were beginning to blur. At dawn, the earth vibrated with the shifting of the floating mesas. The tremors ran up through Marcus's boots, rattling his bones as the ground itself seemed to breathe and buckle. Astra moved ahead of him with urgent, deliberate steps, her eyes constantly scanning the canopy and the indigo sky above. "We must move quickly," she urged, voice clipped with tension. "The forest will turn treacherous soon." Marcus hurried to keep pace, every sense alive. Overhead, islands of stone, some the size of cities, others little more than boulders, drifted in majestic silence. They cast shifting shadows across the blue glowing undergrowth, creating a dance of light and dark that dazzled his eyes. "Incredible," he breathed, momentarily awestruck. "Watch your step," Astra called back, sharper now. "There are gravity anomalies where the mesas pass. One mistake, and you'll be airborne. Or worse." No sooner had she spoken than a high, thin whistle cut through the air. A stone at Marcus's feet trembled, then shot upward with violent speed, vanishing into the branches. He jerked back in shock, heart pounding. Astra's hand flashed out, steadying him. "That was almost you. Stay close." Shade, the great night stalker, padded restlessly at their side, muscles tensed and nostrils flaring. The beast's eyes darted between the shifting islands and the forest floor, a low growl vibrating deep in its chest. The earth gave another warning shudder. Marcus felt the hairs on his arms rise as a strange static charged the air. Suddenly, the ground behind them split with a thunderous crack. A jagged fissure yawned open, swallowing a chunk of the trail. Marcus stumbled, but Astra reacted instantly. Her fingers locked around his wrist, yanking him toward safety. "Jump!" she commanded. They leapt together, Marcus's feet barely clearing the widening chasm. For a heartbeat, they landed pressed together, Astra's cool, powerful form bracing his, breath mingling in the sudden stillness. Her crimson eyes met his, wide and startled. For a moment, all he could hear was the wild pounding of their hearts. Then she stepped back, cheeks flushed with blue undertones, composure snapping back into place. "Are you injured?" she asked, avoiding his gaze. "I'm fine. Thanks to you." Marcus managed a shaky smile. Shade circled above them on a low rise, tail lashing. The beast let out a series of guttural growls, then bounded ahead, pausing to glance back and beckon with a flick of its head. "He wants us to follow," Marcus said, wonder lacing his voice. Astra nodded. "He senses the path. Night Stalkers are attuned to the Earth's unrest." Guided by shade, they wove through tangled roots and bioluminescent vines, emerging at last into a basin of breathtaking beauty, the sacred pools. Water shimmered in a radiant bowl, its edges ringed by crystal flora that sang with the breeze, refracting light in a spectrum of impossible colors. The air was thick with the scent of minerals and living energy. Astra paused at the edge, reverence softening her posture. "No outsider has ever seen this," she murmured, voice barely more than a breath. She undid the clasps on her armor, golden plates sliding free, and let her orange cape fall. Underneath, intricate gold filigree traced her blue skin, muscles sculpted and powerful beneath the markings. She waded into the water, white hair spreading in a luminous halo. Marcus respectfully averted his gaze, but couldn't help glimpsing the elegance of her form, the interplay of strength and grace. He busied himself with the ancient carvings etched into the rocks at the pool's edge. They depicted scenes of Saren and humans standing side by side, hands raised not in battle, but in unity. Night Stalkers prowled at their flanks, protectors, not monsters. Astra surfaced, water cascading down her shoulders. "You may approach the water if you wish," she said softly, her tone unexpectedly gentle. Marcus shook his head, distracted by the carvings. "Astra, look at this." He brushed his fingers over the weathered stone. They show your people and humans as allies, with Night Stalkers too." She knelt beside him, droplets glistening on her skin. Her brow furrowed as she traced the figures. "That cannot be. Our histories say otherwise." A sudden disturbance. From the trees, a Saren warrior burst forth, spear leveled at Marcus's chest. He wore the ceremonial armor of Astra's order, his silver hair pulled tight, face twisted in anger. "Step away from the pools, Terran," the warrior snarled. "You defile this ground." Marcus raised his hands, backing away. Shade sprang between them, a wall of muscle and menace, hackles bristling. "Stand down, Kale," Astra commanded, voice ringing with authority. Kale ignored her, circling Marcus with his spear poised to strike. "Your presence here is forbidden. You bring ruin." Shade lunged, pinning Kale to the earth with a massive paw. The warrior struggled, cursing in Saren, but Shade's weight was immovable. "Enough!" Marcus called, stepping forward with hands outstretched. "Shade, release him, please." The Night Stalker hesitated, then slowly lifted its paw, eyes never leaving Kale's. Astra stood, water streaming from her as she donned her armor in swift, practiced movements. "Explain yourself, Kyle. You know my rank." Kale glared at Marcus, then at Astra. "Matriarch Lyra sent me. She fears for you. For all of us. The humans' influence, His presence cannot be allowed. I was ordered to watch you, to intervene if you faltered. Astra's jaw tightened. My mother's trust in me is clearly lacking. Marcus stepped forward, holding out the artifact spike and gesturing to the carvings. Astra, your people's history. It's written here. Not as conquerors, but as partners. Why would these images exist if your stories are true? Kale spat at the ground, dismissive. Heresy. The elders would destroy such lies if they knew. Astra's eyes lingered on the carvings, doubt flickering in her expression. Perhaps it is not lies we fear, but the truth. The air hummed with tension. Kale glared but offered no argument. Astra straightened, decisive. We must continue to the research dome. There are answers I must find. Kale, you will accompany us. By order of the matriarch, I suspect you have little choice. Kale gritted his teeth but bowed his head. As you command. As the group prepared to depart, the earth trembled once more. The crystal flora around the pool vibrated, producing a haunting, ethereal melody, notes weaving together in a song that resonated in their bones. Even Kale paused, momentarily humbled. Marcus and Astra exchanged a look of wonder. In the harmony, something unspoken passed between them, a deepening connection that no words could capture. As they moved out, Astra walked closer to Marcus, her presence a subtle shield against Kale's simmering resentment. Marcus felt the warmth of her protection and, for the first time, sensed the boundaries between them softening. The melody of the crystal flora lingered in his mind as they vanished into the glowing woods, their path uncertain but now shared. The research dome, overgrown and silent, stood as a relic of the lost alliance. Ivy and phosphorescent moss clung to its fractured surface, the once proud spire of its antenna snapped in two and drooping like a withered limb. Marcus paused at the entrance, brushing away a tangle of glowing vines. His eyes lingered on the faded insignia beside the hatch. A human hand clasped in a serine palm, their twin circles overlapping in unity. The paint had cracked and peeled, but the symbol's hope lingered. He ran his thumb over it, lost in thought. So much forgotten, he murmured. And so quickly. Astra stepped beside him, her gaze unreadable. This place broke our oldest laws. It was abandoned for a reason. The wild reclaims what is unworthy. Marcus gave a wry smile, or what is simply left behind. He pushed the hatch open. The seals hissed, resisting before surrendering to his efforts. The group slipped inside. Within, the air was thick with dust and the sweet, metallic scent of decaying machinery. Shafts of light cut through broken panels overhead, revealing consoles choked with moss and shattered hollow screens. Marcus moved with purpose, picking through debris. He found a scorched terminal, pried open the back, and exhaled in relief. This might work. Power cells battered, but if I can salvage it? Kyle circled warily, spear at the ready. Hurry! This place reeks of old sins. Marcus ignored him, extracting the cell and inserting it into his battered beacon. He thumbed the switch. Nothing at first, then a faint glow. Hope fluttered in his chest. As he worked, Astra wandered the dome's perimeter, fingers trailing over the mural of human and Saren scientists, arm in arm with Night Stalkers at their heels. Her lips tightened. I was told the dome was shut down because it angered the spirits of Veyra, she said, that it trespassed on sacred ground. Marcus glanced up from his tools. Did they tell you why? Astra hesitated, eyes distant. Only that those who stayed were exiled or lost. Her voice dropped. It is easier to forget what shames us. A dull beep interrupted their conversation. Marcus pressed a series of keys. The main console sputtered, lights flickering weakly. He connected his wristpad, overriding the security with practiced hands. Let's see what's hidden here. Static danced across the screen, then resolved into an old log. A graying woman in a human uniform, Dr. Hayes, sat beside a Saren man in ceremonial robes. Between them, a young Night Stalker purred, fitted with a delicate silver circlet. Project Log, Night Stalker Harmony Initiative, Day 172. Dr. Hayes began. Joint research, human and Saren neural link, enabling communication and partnership with native Veyran apex predators. The Saren scientist smiled. The dream is peace through understanding. The Night Stalkers choose their companions freely. Already the results are... The video jumped. The same Saren man, years older, looked gaunt. His voice trembled. Something has changed. Some links are corrupting, twisting the Night Stalkers. We must halt... The log ended in a burst of static. Marcus's breath quickened. The spike I removed. It was a corrupted link. They were meant for harmony, not control. Kyle's voice rang out raw with fury. Blasphemy! He strode forward, smashing the terminal with a sweep of his spear. Sparks flew. These are lies. Dangerous, poisonous lies. Astra moved like lightning, staff leveled at Kale's throat. Stand down. Her eyes flashed with warning, body tense. You will not destroy truth simply because it frightens you. Kale glared, chest heaving, but yielded to her command. Marcus gently cradled the power cell from the ruined console, fitting it into his beacon. A blue pulse raced along the device. He keyed in a signal. Rescue beacons live. My team will find me now, but I'm not leaving until we finish this. Astra studied him, then nodded, resolve building in her posture. The archives beneath the capital, if there are answers, they are there. We will go together. Kale barked a harsh laugh. You'll never survive the wilds. Not with a human. Not with... that. He gestured at Shade, who responded with a guttural, warning growl. Astra's chin lifted, her voice steely. Shade is our guardian now. Any who threaten us answer to him. Kale's sneer faltered as the Night Stalker pressed close, eyes glinting with animal intelligence. They left the dome as the morning sun burned away the mist. Astra's demeanor had shifted. She walked close beside Marcus, her earlier rigidity replaced with something warmer, more open. They moved in step, the distance between them narrowing with every stride. Everything we saw, it changes what I believed, Astra admitted quietly as they picked their way over twisting roots. The past was never as simple as we were told. Marcus glanced at her, encouraged. We're stronger together. That's what they wanted. Humans, Saren, Night Stalkers. Unity. Astra looked away, but her red eyes glowed softly. Perhaps you are right. I only fear what my people will do if we expose these truths. Shade stalked ahead, head high, tail twitching, a vigilant shadow against the dangers of the wild. They crossed ravines where the gravity bent sideways, dodged carnivorous vines that snapped at their heels, and skirted the territories of howling sky beasts. Shade fought off a pack of glass-fanged predators, scattering them with a single roar. Kale grew quieter with each encounter, his bravado eroded by Shade's unwavering protection. He kept his distance, muttering under his breath, but followed. After a grueling march, the forest thinned, and the crystalline towers of the Saren capital rose from the horizon, spires of light catching the sunset, shimmering with every color of Veyra's sky. The city pulsed with an ancient alien beauty. Astra led them through the gates, past silent sentinels and curious onlookers, to the heart of the city, the council chamber. The hall was vast, roofed in translucent crystal that filtered sunlight into rainbows. 7 elders sat in a semicircle, their robes gleaming, their faces inscrutable. At the center, regal and unbending, sat Lyra, Astra's mother. Astra bowed, then spoke with measured calm. Honored Council, I bring evidence that our histories are incomplete. Marcus Lane, Terran exobiologist, has risked his life for Veyra and her children. We request access to the archives. Kale stepped forward, voice booming. The human has broken sacred law. He trespassed, defiled the pools, brought a night stalker to our gates. He must be punished. Lyra's gaze cut through the chamber. Silence, Kale. Your anger serves no purpose here. She turned to Marcus. Speak. Why have you come? Marcus squared his shoulders, meeting her stare. To find the truth. About the Harmony Project. About what really happened between our peoples and the Night Stalkers. We found proof in the research dome. Humans and Saren worked together, with Night Stalkers as partners. Someone twisted that work. I ask for permission to search your archives for the rest. The chamber buzzed with whispers. Astra's aunt, silver-haired and severe, rose. Mother, the world is changing. Let us hear what the past has to say. Lyra studied Astra, then Marcus, her face unreadable. After a long moment she nodded. So be it. Astra and Marcus, you may descend to the archives. Kale, you will remain here. Kale stiffened but obeyed. Astra touched Marcus's arm, just briefly, and together they stepped through the crystal doors, leaving the council behind and descending into the depths where the last secrets waited. The archives were a maze of crystal tablets and holograms, row after row stretching beyond sight in the subterranean vaults beneath the Saren capital. Pale blue light shimmered from the data pillars, reflecting in Astra's white hair as she and Marcus moved shoulder to shoulder through the labyrinth. Shade waited at the entry, a silent sentinel, his massive form tense but patient, eyes glinting in the gloom. For hours, Astra and Marcus pored over ancient records. Astra's deft fingers danced across a crystalline console, coaxing faded glyphs into clarity while Marcus translated the old human logs into Saren script. The hum of the archive's central processor underscored their soft murmurs, and the occasional gasp as another piece of the puzzle slipped into place. Astra, look at this, Marcus called softly, beckoning her to a series of floating holographic displays. The images showed humans and Saren, side by side, fitting neural bands onto young Night Stalkers. It's proof. They were equals, not pets. They built this together. Astra scrolled through the text, her eyes widening. The neural links allowed communication, true partnership. The Night Stalkers chose to join. There was peace. Marcus traced the timeline forward, brow furrowing as the records grew darker. Ah, and here, the sundering. The logs fractured into brief, panicked missives. A human scientist, voice trembling, recorded. The links are being weaponized. Faction within the Saren High Council, Lyra's own mentors, are twisting the project for control. They're creating pain, not harmony. Astra's fists clenched. Tradition warped to justify domination. They erased the truth and made the Night Stalkers into tools. My people believed the lie. Marcus's gaze was haunted as he examined the diagram of the spike he'd removed from Shade. This wasn't for communication, it's a torture device, designed to break them. Astra's voice broke, luminous eyes shimmering with distress. My mother, she must have known. She taught me to honor the Night Stalkers, yet hid this. Marcus reached for her hand, tentative. You're not your mother. You're the one who fought for truth. Before Astra could reply, a shrill alarm blared through the archives. Red lights flashed. Shade's ears flattened, a guttural warning rumble echoing through the stone. Footsteps thundered on the stairs. Kale burst into the archive, spear leveled, flanked by armed guards in ceremonial armor. There, Kale shouted. They conspire against the council. Marcus Lane is a traitor. He's corrupted our sentinel. Marcus stepped in front of Astra, hands raised. Kale, listen. But Kale thrust his spear, the tip grazing Marcus's jacket. Shade exploded into motion, a shadow of muscle and fury. The Night Stalker leapt, knocking two guards aside with a sweep of his tail and pinning Kale to the floor, jaws inches from his throat. The other guards rushed Marcus, but Astra moved faster. Staff whirling, she deflected their blows, her every motion fluid and precise. "You will not harm him," she cried, eyes blazing. She ducked under a spear, knocking the weapon away, and pressed Kale's head into the stone with her boot. Kale struggled, rage and shame twisting his features. "You betray your own people for an outsider." "I seek truth," Astra hissed, staff at his throat. "Surrender, or Shade will finish this." Shade's growl made the guards hesitate. Astra twisted Kale's wrist, his spear clattering to the floor. "Yield, Kale." He spat, then stilled, glaring up at her. Heavy doors banged open. More guards poured in, this time led by Astra's aunt, her silver hair flashing as she strode into the chaos. "Enough," she commanded, her voice cutting through the tension. "Disarm Kale. Take him to the holding cells." The guards dragged Kale away, still cursing Marcus's name. The aunt surveyed the wreckage, then turned to Astra. "Explain." Astra drew herself up, voice clear. "We have proof that the Sundering was engineered to enslave Night Stalkers and divide our peoples. The spike Marcus removed is a weapon. Our traditions have been twisted." Marcus added, "The records are clear. The Night Stalker Harmony Project was corrupted by those seeking power. The lies must end." The aunt's eyes softened with something like relief. "I have long suspected the old stories were incomplete." She raised a hand to silence the murmurs. "A trial will be convened. The council will hear your evidence, and all Saren shall know the truth." News of the trial spread quickly. In the days that followed, Saren society was shaken to its roots. The council chamber overflowed with elders, citizens, and delegates from distant forests. Marcus and Astra presented their findings, holographic projections of the Alliance's ideals, the logs of betrayal, and the spike's true design. Astra's aunt stood with them, lending her authority. Kale, shackled but defiant, accused Marcus of deceit and foreign manipulation. But the council was silent when the spike's blueprint was traced, by expert testimony and Marcus's analysis, back to Lyra's closest advisors. Lyra sat rigid, her face pale. At last, she rose. "If what you say is true, I have failed my people. I will step aside while this is investigated." A hush fell. The council conferred, then issued their ruling. The Night Stalker Shade was declared a free being, not a weapon, and the old edicts were repealed. Saren society would begin to restore the unity of the First Age, embracing partnership rather than control. Outside the council chamber, Marcus's beacon pulsed. A Terran rescue ship had entered orbit, its landing imminent. Astra met his gaze, searching. "You can go home now," she said softly, uncertainty in her eyes. Marcus shook his head, smiling. "My place is here. There's work to do. Helping you rebuild, teaching what was lost." He reached for her hand, and this time she didn't hesitate. Her fingers twined with his, warmth kindling between them. Shade pressed close, rumbling in approval as the first rays of a new dawn spilled through the crystal towers. Together, Marcus, Astra, and Shade stepped forward, toward a future shaped by truth, unity, and the promise of something greater than either could have dreamed. Weeks later, Marcus worked at the sacred pools, kneeling at the edge where crystal flora rose from the water in fractal spirals, casting glints of blue and gold across his face. He adjusted the dials of his scanner, brow furrowed in concentration as he traced delicate filaments of bioluminescence, his data slate alive with readings. The air here still sang with the soft harmonics of the crystalline petals, a song he'd come to love, a reminder of the strangeness and beauty of Veyra. Behind him, footsteps whispered over the moss. Marcus looked up as Astra appeared, her white hair glowing faintly in the sunlight filtering through the trees. Her golden armor gleamed, ornate patterns tracing her arms and shoulders, and the orange sash at her waist fluttered with each measured stride. She paused, watching him with an expression both guarded and gentle. "You could have left," she said quietly, her voice threading between the musical notes of the flora. "The Terran ship waited for you. Yet here you are?" Marcus set his scanner aside and stood, brushing dust from his knees. A smile played at the corners of his mouth, weary but genuine. "For discovery, mostly. There's nothing like this back home. Every day on Veyra, I see something I never imagined possible." He hesitated, searching her crimson gaze. "For truth, too. You showed me how much history can hide, and—" his voice softened. "For you." Astra blinked in surprise. Her eyes widened, reflecting the pool's glow. For a moment she seemed at a loss, then her features relaxed, the tension melting away. "You're incorrigible, Terran," she said, but her words carried the warmth of an old joke rather than rebuke. He took a step closer, closing the distance between them. Their hands met, his sun-warmed palm folding around her cool, strong fingers. For a heartbeat, neither spoke, letting the moment stretch. "Marcus," he said quietly, his thumb tracing the back of her hand. "Not just Terran. And you're extraordinary, Astra. I hope you know that." Astra let out a soft breath, the lines of her face softening. She looked away, struggling to master a flicker of vulnerability. "You unsettle me, Marcus Lane, in ways I never expected." She hesitated, searching his face for some sign of doubt, and then squeezed his hand, a gentle but certain pressure. Her eyes glowed with a rhythmic pulse, the serene sign of trust and openness. "Stay, there's much to learn about Veyra, and about us." Marcus's heart beat faster. The ache of old loneliness, the longing for understanding faded beneath the weight of her words. He leaned in, his forehead nearly brushing hers. The pool's music rose around them, refracted light dancing across their joined hands. "Then I'll stay," he whispered, as if voicing a vow. "Whatever comes." Astra lifted her chin, her lips curving in a small, rare smile. "Whatever comes," she echoed. They stood for a long moment in the hush, sharing the quiet certainty that only comes from two souls who have crossed a chasm and found common ground. The world around them seemed to slow. The scars of the past, the sundering, the betrayals, the pain, felt more distant now, replaced by hope as fragile and beautiful as the crystal blossoms swaying in the breeze. A low, contented rumble broke the stillness. Shade padded into view, massive and majestic, his mottled green-black hide shimmering with the reflections of the sacred pool. He circled them once, brushing Marcus's side with his head in a gesture of approval, then settled at their feet, crimson eyes half-lidded in peace. Astra knelt, running her fingers through Shade's silky fur. "He trusts you," she said softly. "That is rare, even for a Night Stalker." Marcus crouched beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. "He trusted you first." "I think he always knew." She met his gaze, a hint of playful challenge in her eyes. "We are a strange trio, aren't we? Human, Saren, and Night Stalker." "Maybe that's what Veyra needed," Marcus replied. "Something new." They shared a laugh, quiet and real, the sound echoing through the clearing. The burdens of their titles, their scars, their worlds faded for a moment beneath the warmth that bloomed between them. Astra traced a finger along Marcus's cheek, memorizing the lines of his face. "I never imagined," she murmured, "that the future would look like this." He smiled, his hand finding hers again. "Neither did I, but I wouldn't change a thing." The crystal flora trembled as a gentle wind swept over the pools, scattering rainbows across their faces. Shade lifted his head, watching them with an expression that was almost knowing, a silent witness to what they had built together. The old wounds between their peoples would take time to heal, but here, in the heart of Veyra, the process had begun. Marcus and Astra remained by the sacred pool, hands entwined, Shade standing guard behind them. They leaned in, foreheads nearly touching, sharing a promise unspoken in any language. Above them, the canopy whispered of new beginnings, of unity, discovery, and a bond that had already changed the fate of two worlds. That's the end of the story. Please do not forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and write in the comments what you liked most about this story. Our team will be very grateful to you. You can find even more fascinating stories on our channel. See you in the next video.